Hey everyone, my name is Charlie and today I would like to talk about the books that I read in August 2014. This is a series that I've been doing on this channel since the beginning of the year, in which I look back on the books that I read a decade ago and see whether I still remember them or whether I have any further thoughts, any new thoughts on them. In August 2014, the first book that I read that month was Warbreaker by Brandon Sanderson. And this was because a friend of mine who went on to be the editor of R. Doris and read the subsequent books as well, was going to see Brandon Sanderson in Manchester and had invited me along, and she was going to be buying me the first book in the Stormlight archive when we went there as a birthday present. She said to me, "You're going to have read one of his books before you go, so get Warbreaker from the library because it's a standalone, you'll be okay." I believe it's no longer a standalone, but back then, 10 years ago, it was. So I read Warbreaker and I really enjoyed it. And I'm pretty sure there was something about somebody in there no longer having a tongue, seeing a new magical system. I believe there's a tale of two sisters in there. I can remember liking this book at the time. I then went on to read or listen to some of the books in the Stormlight archive series because that friend had forgotten. She said she was going to purchase the book for me. Whatever, it was fine. I've forgiven them. But I no longer have any Brandon Sanderson on my shelves for various reasons. I think that he is very good at world building and writing books rather quickly. I look forward to seeing how he wrote books for the Robert Jordan series, but he does have a few opinions that I don't necessarily agree with and wouldn't necessarily want to support or give credence to on this channel through mentioning his works. Then we have Chocolat by Joanne Harris, which was weird not to have read this book earlier because I read The Lollipop Shoes and Peaches from Monsieur Le Carré before this, alongside many other Joanne Harris books, but I'd always avoided Chocolat, and it's still not a favourite of mine. I still prefer the sequels in the Vian Rocha series, apart from maybe The Strawberry Thief. The Strawberry Thief leans heavily towards the more magical side of things, but it was nice to see where Vian came from and get to see more of her characterisation, because in Peaches from Monsieur Le Carré, she returns to the setting from the first book, and you get to see more of a true sequel than The Lollipop Shoes necessarily was. But still a big fan of Joanne Harris, and I believe Chocolat was actually part of a food trilogy as well as being part of the Vian Rocha series. So you have Chocolat, Blackberry Wine and 5/4 of the Orange, all books that I have read. I liked it, but not my favourite Joanne Harris. Then we have Amulet the Stonekeeper, which was a graphic novel, and I remember getting 3 of them in a box set, which I've since given away either to a cousin or I can't remember what happened to this collection really. It reminded me of Monster Rancher and the fantasy that I had enjoyed as a child, but unfortunately I do think that I was simply too old for this graphic novel at the time. However, I do believe that it did inspire certain aspects of the children's book I was writing at this juncture. Then, I was about to mention a book, and then I've discovered that I didn't actually read anything else. Wow. I thought I'd got 3 more books to chat to you about. Well, that was a dramatic end. I thought there was more to talk about here. I did not think that I only read 3 books in the month of August in 2014. But looking at the first book in September, I can see why this happened, because I chose to finish reading Nicholas Nickleby by Charles Dickens. But I'll talk about my reading of that book in September when we go back through this list. But that has been a shock to me. I definitely thought we had more to talk about today than those 3 books. Something must have been happening. It was August 2014, and I think that I remember August 2014. So in July 2014, a scandal came to a head at my old employment in a different town. Same employer, different town. We were the flagship store there, and there was just a lot of goings on that occurred, and myself and the manager didn't necessarily get on with each other, and things had come to a head a month prior to this. There is a scene in the first episode of season 3 of RuPaul's Drag Race in which India Farah and Phoenix realise that they have walked in the same outfit. Now, this isn't about coming in and seeing somebody in the same outfit. It's about coming together and acknowledging a person who might have done you wrong, but being the bigger person there. I thought that I had done right by a person, and they turned it around and made me look like a bad guy. But I wasn't going to allow this to be the way that the narrative ended. And so on that occasion, I still went to this person's leaving do, and we have nothing to do with each other. They subsequently went on to block me on every platform, which is perfectly okay. But I was the innocent party in all this. I was not the one doing wrong. But I think this occurred because of the fact that I now knew that they'd done wrong. If they had not gone and done what they did, then I would have remained innocent to all of the things they were doing wrong, because I did not believe that they, as a person, would do what they were doing. But unfortunately, they were, and their actions afterwards prove that. And I'm not one to discuss scandal on here. Close friends and other people know all about it, but I ain't gonna air other people's dirty laundry. You know, it's a whole case of they know what they did. And that was what had happened in the July. And so this person had now left the shop, which meant I had overtime. It meant that I had to go in and cover when they weren't there. But another issue that we had was that during the summer months and the summer holidays, there was another staff member who took time off because they had children at home and wanted to take time off to spend time with them. So one of the reasons I will have read fewer books in August of that year is because I will have been doing more overtime at the charity shop, as well as everything else that I would have been doing at the time, which was visiting my grandmother, and actually both grandmothers were still alive then, so probably visiting both grandmothers and all that fun stuff. This was also the year coming off throughout that year. Earlier that year, I'd been diagnosed with my chronic migraine syndrome, which I'm pretty sure was due to all of the stress that I faced at that shop and with certain staff members who work there. But it does come to a certain type of ending in the end. That's not my story to tell. It's just a way of lengthening this video that one of the reasons we only read 3 books in August 2014 is due to scandal and mayhem at the charity shop. And we're 10 years down the line. You'd think I'd have forgiven people by now. But as my mother says, and as other people have said, Charlie knows how to hold a grudge. And although he shouldn't let people live in his head rent free, there seems to be a lot of space in there. Anyway, I am going to disappear. If you've read any of those 3 books and would like to discuss them, then please feel free to do so in the comments. I hope that you've got something out of this video, because until next time, that is all.